the Insta360 Luna or the DJI Pocket 4P, and how should one choose? Before answering this question, I suggest you first carefully consider whether you really need such a device. I often see people online saying they bought this kind of device, used it a few times, and then shelved it. So before watching this in-depth comparison of these two cameras, my advice is to first open your phone's photo album and see whether there are more photos or videos. If you usually shoot a lot of videos, then obviously this type of gimbal camera focused on stability is very suitable for you. If you rarely shoot videos or hardly ever do, and mainly take photos, then your mobile phone is actually the most suitable. There's no need to spend extra money to create a demand for buying this type of gimbal camera. If you have already determined your needs, then let's proceed with today's practical comparison. First, the price. The DJI Pocket 4P is $3,799, while the Insta360 Luna is $3,999, a difference of $200. The DJI Pocket 4P comes with a fill light, while the Insta360 requires an additional purchase, widening the gap. Additionally, the DJI Pocket 4P provides 103 gigabytes of memory, whereas the Insta360 Luna only offers 47 gigabytes. For those who shoot relatively less often, the DJI Pocket 4P can save the cost of a memory card. In this comparison, the price difference seems to widen a bit. On the other hand, the Insta360 Luna includes a protective case, which the DJI Pocket 4P does not, but the DJI Pocket 4P comes with a storage bag. However, for such a large device like the 4P, the lack of a protective case is quite concerning for safety. It is recommended for those planning to buy it to purchase a third-party protective case online in advance. Additionally, the Insta360 Luna comes with a detachable remote screen, allowing for remote control and monitoring, and it also has a microphone with quite good audio quality, making it more convenient for solo video shooting. DJI, on the other hand, has added a similar remote screen for the Pocket 4P, but it is not included in the basic package and needs to be purchased separately. So how should the price difference between these two cameras be calculated? In terms of appearance, everyone's aesthetic is different, so I don't know which design of these two cameras you prefer. Personally, I might find Luna's design to be cuter and more appealing. Next, let's talk about Insta360's detachable screen and DJI's remote control screen. Insta360's detachable screen offers better usability, with controls identical to the main device, allowing full adjustment of all shooting parameters. The screen is larger and the image quality is clear, as it is the screen on the Gimbal. In addition, it has a microphone with quite good audio capture, so when going out, there's no need to worry about bringing a separate microphone, making it more convenient. The downside, as I mentioned in a previous video, is that in places with complex network environments, the transmission of images on this detachable screen can easily drop frames and stutter at close range. However, if you're at home or in outdoor areas with fewer people, the connection distance will be much better. As for DJI's remote control screen, it's the same as the one on their previous mobile gimbal, small in size with a small screen and low brightness. It can only switch basic modes and cannot adjust core parameters like resolution and frame rate. Charging requires a special magnetic cable and cannot use a Type-C port. I really don't know what DJI's engineers were thinking, making us carry several charging cables when taking your pocket camera out. Moreover, the joystick's feel is much worse than the one built into the body, more like an accessory hastily made to counter the Insta360's detachable screen. Its advantage is that the remote control supports 8-directional diagonal movement and the transmission distance is very far, which is a core skill DJI has honed from making drones. In terms of gimbal zoom control, the differences between the two are also very obvious. DJI's linear joystick can adjust the speed of the gimbal and zoom based on the force applied. Push fast for fast, push slow for slow. Insta360, on the other hand, has a non-linear joystick with only 3 fixed speeds, fast, medium, and slow, for gimbal movement and zoom, resulting in a significant difference in operational flexibility. In everyday shooting, if you want delicate and controllable adjustments for zoom and the speed of the gimbal's tilt and roll axis, the difference in experience between the two is very noticeable. If doing rigorous commercial shooting, then DJI Pocket 4P indeed performs better in this aspect. Additionally, although the Pocket 4P's joystick supports linear speed change, it does not support diagonal movement. This issue is mainly raised because this feature was standard on the Pocket 3, but is absent in the 4P. Moreover, the temporary addition of this small remote control supports this function. It's unclear why DJI decided to remove this very useful feature from the device itself. Now, even with the 4th generation of products, DJI still hasn't provided an independent zoom lever. The gimbal and zoom share one joystick, so every time you want to adjust the angle or focal length, you have to switch modes. It's not just inconvenient. Switching focal lengths can only be done with buttons. A single press switches to 3 times, a double press to 6 times, and from 6 times to 12 times. It seems you have to long press the function button, which is very disjointed. Although the Insta360 also has only 3 zoom speeds. It is equipped with an independent zoom lever, making operation more efficient. A long push allows for continuous zoom between 1 and 12 times, and a single or double push can quickly switch between 1, 2, 3, 6, and 12 times. The zoom logic could be changed because the 2 times zoom is not very useful. It is more recommended to switch directly from 1 times to 3 times medium telephoto lens, so that the 2 quickly switched focal lengths are lossless. If you want 2 times, just push the zoom lever long. This is a problem that many people have mentioned. I also hope that the manufacturer, Galaxy, can update the zoom logic in future firmware. In terms of continuous zoom, the arrangement of the lenses is different, and the performance of the zoom image is also noticeably different. When switching from the 1 times wide-angle lens to the 3 times medium telephoto lens, both cameras experience a lens switching misalignment, like a slight stutter. The misalignment on the DJI 4P is very noticeable, while the Galaxy Luna is much better. Moreover, when switching from the wide-angle lens to the telephoto lens on the DJI 4P, besides the misalignment, there is also a very noticeable difference in video color. In contrast, the color consistency of the Galaxy Luna is much better. Although there are differences, they are not as obvious as with the DJI 4P. If the color difference between the images from the 2 lenses is too large, it creates a sense of disconnection and also increases the difficulty of color grading in post-production. So I also hope DJI can optimize this issue in the future. Then there are the custom buttons. Both cameras have custom buttons. DJI has 1, and Yingqi has 2. DJI's is placed below the screen, while Yingqi's is directly above the screen. So if the DJI 4P is shooting in portrait mode, its 2 buttons cannot be used, but Luna's buttons are on the screen, so they can still be used in portrait mode. In terms of shortcut key settings, Luna's advantage is also very clear. The 2 customizable shortcut keys on the screen can be set for single-click and double-click functions. For example, since Luna is said to have high exposure, you can set shortcut keys to quickly adjust exposure compensation and other common functions. As for screen display, there's no doubt that DJI is better. The OLED screen of DJI 4P is superior to Luna in terms of color, detail, and brightness. Then there's their user interface. Both cameras pull down the system settings menu from the top. The menu on the DJI 4P is all icons. Longtime DJI users might not notice, but for new users, it might not be very user-friendly, as they need to familiarize themselves with what each icon represents. The Galaxy Luna is much more user-friendly. Apart from a few common icons like settings, sound, and brightness, the rest are in Chinese, making it clear what each is for at a glance. Moreover, in the gimbal mode, there are animations corresponding to different gimbal modes, making it easy for beginners to understand the differences between various modes. In terms of power on/off settings, DJI offers 3 options: immediate, 2-second delay, and repeated shutdown to prevent accidental shutdowns, making it more user-friendly. The Yingqi Luna, however, only has 2 options for power on/off. In terms of the logic for powering on in portrait mode, both cameras can be set to power on facing forward or backward, or to remember the last orientation. The Luna additionally supports switching to selfie mode by holding the shortcut key when the screen is turned on, making snapshots more flexible. As for audio recording, both cameras come with front microphones. Next, let's briefly compare their audio recording quality. Now it's the DJI 4P with omnidirectional recording. Listen and see how the sound quality feels. Now it's the Galaxy Luna with omnidirectional recording. Listen to how the sound quality is. Next is the video comparison. In standard video recording mode, the DJI 4P only has 1080p and 4K resolutions, and both can only shoot up to 60 frames per second. If you want to shoot at a higher frame rate, you have to switch to slow motion mode, but the video shot this way will have no sound. As for the Galaxy Luna, it offers 4 resolution options: 1080p, 2.7K, 4K, and 8K, with a maximum of 8K at 30 frames per second. Both 4K and 2.7K can reach 120 frames per second, and 1080p can go up to 240 frames per second. In standard video mode, Galaxy Luna provides more shooting options and higher frame rates. Additionally, Galaxy Luna allows you to choose between horizontal and vertical screen aspect ratios. In landscape mode, you can choose 16:9, 2.35:1, and 1:1. In portrait mode, you can choose 9:16 and 1:1. DJI does not have options to adjust the aspect ratio, which is relatively limited. However, DJI has settings for audio in the menu bar on the right side in addition to video settings, making it more convenient to adjust during shooting, which is more convenient than Yingqi. In the color mode, the Galaxy Luna has 3 modes: Standard, Dolby Vision, and iLog. Those who don't understand post-production should choose Standard mode and Dolby Vision. The color space of the footage shot in Dolby Vision mode will be richer, while more professional users can use iLog mode. Moreover, Galaxy allows the use of iLog uniformly across different frame rates and focal lengths in various modes, but shooting in log will be encoded without in-camera monitoring, making it somewhat inconvenient to use, which is not as good as the DJI 4P. When Luna is shooting in log mode, it can directly apply filters for recording. saving the need for post-production color correction. This feature is something that DJI 4P does not have. As for DJI, the DJI 4P has a normal mode, D-Log mode, and a D-Log 2 mode, specifically developed for the one-time wide-angle lens. Both log modes allow for real-time in-camera monitoring. In D-Log 2 mode, it can also achieve the 17 stops of dynamic range that DJI heavily promotes. Here, and I still need to emphasize, although last time I mentioned an issue and was attacked by internet trolls, taken out of context and guided public opinion, and then the video was reported and taken down. But today, I still have to say, if you buy this camera just to apply a filter and use beauty mode to shoot directly, it does not have a 17-stop dynamic range. The DJI 4P can only achieve a 17-stop dynamic range when the main camera is in D-Log 2 mode, and it is locked at 1x, unable to zoom. Its normal mode and D-Log mode do not have 17 stops. This feature is only useful for more professional users. For those who know how to use it, the 17 stops of dynamic range are indeed very powerful. However, for ordinary users who don't do post-production or adjust parameters and just shoot directly, the focus when choosing a camera shouldn't be on this dynamic range, but rather on other advantages of the camera. I also show comparison videos of two cameras in standard mode and lock mode. You can compare them yourself to see which one is better and suits your taste. First is the standard mode. Both cameras are 4K 60 frames per second high frame rate. Everything else is automatic, no parameters adjusted. 3x zoom.
Six times zoom. Now it's 12 times zoom.
Next, the DJI 4P is in D-Log 2 mode, and the Film Luna is in iLog mode, with all settings on fully automatic default parameters during shooting. Next, Next, DJI is in D-Log mode. In the regular D-Log mode, DJI can zoom freely, just like the cinematic iLog mode.
This is 3x zoom.
This is 6x zoom.
In terms of stabilization, it feels like there's not much difference between the two cameras. I did a running test with 1x wide angle and 3x medium telephoto lenses, so you can compare for yourself.
Now it is 3x zoom.
In night mode, the DJI 4P only supports 4K at 30 frames per second, cannot add filters, and has no other color grading functions. The Film Luna can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second and allows for simple color grading. If switched to the same 4K at 30 frames per second as the DJI 4P, the Film Luna can also add various filters or beauty enhancements. In addition, in night mode, the DJI 4P requires you to choose between 1x wide angle or 3x medium telephoto lens before shooting, and you cannot adjust the focal length after starting to shoot. However, with the Film Luna, whether at 4K 30 frames or 4K 60 frames, you can freely adjust the focal length between 1x and 12x after shooting.
Now it's 2 times. But
6 times. 12 times.
its 12 times zoom also feels very usable.
Next is the slow motion mode. In this mode, the DJI 4P has higher shooting specifications, capable of shooting up to 4K at 240 frames per second in slow motion, while the Film Luna can only shoot up to 4K at 120 frames per second. One thing to note is that the DJI 4P at 4K 240 frames per second can only use the main wide-angle lens and does not support medium or long focus lenses. Another issue is that the Film Luna has its own sensor, which automatically adjusts according to the ambient light, making the captured image closer to the colors you see with the naked eyes. Perhaps this is also why many people notice in other comparison videos that some footage shows skin tones captured by DJI as whiter, while those by Insta360 appear more yellowish. Then, in another location, the skin tones captured by Insta360 appear whiter. However, this issue still requires further investigation. Then there's time-lapse photography. DJI has combined various time-lapse options into one called trajectory time-lapse, where you can swipe up to choose from motion, stationary, and trajectory time-lapse modes. In contrast, Insta360 Luna only offers fixed-point time-lapse and moving time-lapse. In terms of time-lapse photography, DJI 4P's features are more comprehensive, but Insta360 Luna has an additional panoramic photo function compared to DJI 4P. In this function, you can choose to take 19 photos in all directions to create a 360-degree panoramic photo, or swipe down to select 200 million pixels. Both of these features are very fun to use, especially when traveling and taking landscape photos. You can try this 200 million pixel mode, which automatically takes 24 photos and combines them into a 2:1 wide photo with a very impressive effect. In the standard photo mode, both cameras can choose between ultra clear and standard clear specifications. DJI 4P can choose between 16:9 and 1:1 aspect ratios, while Insta360 Luna can choose from 16:9, 4:3, and 1:1 aspect ratios. Additionally, a major difference between these two cameras is that in photo mode, DJI 4P cannot add filters and does not have beauty or skin smoothing features. Insta360 Luna, on the other hand, offers various filters that can be added, such as the Leica tone filter, and it also has beauty and skin smoothing features. This might be why many people prefer Insta360 for direct output, as it has a rich selection of filters, eliminating the hassle of post-processing. This is especially convenient for novice users who want to shoot immediately. But one thing to note is that if you choose a filter on the Insta360 Luna, you cannot adjust the beauty and skin smoothing. And if you adjust the beauty and skin smoothing, you cannot directly apply a filter. This issue also exists in the video mode of the DJI 4P. Similarly, when a filter is added, the beauty function cannot be used, but the beautification function can still be used. However, it cannot be operated directly on the camera. It must be connected to DJI's app and operated on the app, which is somewhat redundant. Additionally, when taking photos, whether in ultra clear or standard clear mode, both cameras have the issue of needing to cache and write after shooting, which greatly affects continuous shooting, especially in ultra clear mode. Switching to standard clear mode is much faster. In this aspect, the two cameras are evenly matched. The DJI Pocket 4P and the Insta360 Luna Ultra also have significant differences in macro shooting capabilities. The Luna Ultra leads comprehensively in close-up capabilities, with the main camera's closest focusing distance being only 9 cm and the telephoto lens at 15 cm, while the DJI Pocket 4P's main camera's closest focusing distance is 14 cm and the telephoto lens is 20 cm. In actual shooting, the Insta360 Luna, with its closer focusing distance, is better for casual shots of subjects like flowers, plants, and small objects. In terms of live streaming capabilities, Luna does not support webcam streaming, while DJI does. This difference is quite significant. For users who need live streaming functionality, currently, the only option is the DJI Pocket 4P. I just don't know if Insta360 will update the firmware to add this feature in the future, but before the feature is implemented, I suggest not trusting any manufacturer's promises. Next is the comparison of intelligent recognition and tracking between the two cameras. First is the pre-composition function. In this aspect, Insta360 Luna is better. It can first recognize the object, then freely choose 9 composition points, and when tracking an object, it will automatically adjust to the corresponding position in the frame, making the operation very flexible. DJI's pre-composition requires setting points first, and once enabled, you can't switch tracking subjects by touchscreen. Also, during setup, you can only confirm with the joystick and can't directly select by touchscreen, so the practicality of pre-composition is not as good as Insta360 Luna. Looking at gesture recognition and automatic tracking, the reason I didn't include actual footage from both cameras is because I was working alone. Both the DJI 4P and the Insta360 Luna automatically lock onto the subject and start recording after a gesture, and then another gesture stops the recording. However, after reviewing the footage, I found that the Pocket 4P doesn't have this feature. In this aspect, DJI indeed doesn't perform as well as the Insta360 Luna. When shooting alone, recognizing gestures and starting recording with just a gesture is more reasonable. With the 1x wide-angle lens, both cameras can quickly recognize gestures and start tracking. But during fast movements, the DJI 4P frequently fail to track the face. Of course, this is considered an extreme test, as such fast-moving scenes are rare in everyday shooting. Under the 3x medium telephoto lens, both cameras reset the gimbal, but the DJI 4P always seems a bit slow. The Insta360 Luna has already recognized and started tracking, while the DJI hasn't responded yet. I tried many times and it was always like this. However, once successfully locked, the tracking performance of the DJI 4P at 3x is much better than the Insta360 Luna. During fast movements, the Luna frequently loses track, and overall, the DJI 4P locks more steadily. After discovering that the DJI 4P cannot automatically record in 6x mode, I first turned on the 4P's recording function. But here DJI also has the problem of not being able to recognize gesture tracking. With the gimbal returning to the same position and angle, Insta360 can recognize well, but DJI cannot. Sometimes my position is at the edge of the Insta360 Luna's frame, which should actually be more advantageous for the DJI 4P, yet Luna can successfully recognize, while DJI 4P cannot. After both successfully recognized and tracked, in most cases, DJI tracked more steadily. However, during several quick shakes, this time DJI 4P lost track multiple times, while Insta360 Luna was able to successfully relock and track after the person disappeared and reappeared. So in terms of automatic tracking, both cameras are still quite similar, but Insta360 Luna can quickly recognize gesture tracking and shooting, which indeed outperforms DJI 4P. Now let's look at object recognition. Here I need to criticize the logical flaw of the Insta360 Luna. As long as there is a person in the frame, double tapping the screen cannot lock onto an object. The device will forcibly prioritize recognizing faces. Only when there is no person in the frame, or the person is very small or not obvious, can it lock onto an object. DJI's object recognition has a higher priority. Whether there is a person in the frame or not, clicking on an object makes it the primary tracking target and is not interfered with by faces. In this aspect, DJI is better. The performance of pure facial recognition is not much different between the two. However, once the subject to be tracked is locked, Insta360 Luna performs better than DJI 10P in tracking objects with less distinct features. In multi-person follow mode, DJI 10P requires the multi-person follow function to be turned on separately, and after selecting it, it can recognize multiple faces. Insta360's operation is simpler. A single press of the joystick is for single-person recognition, and a long press automatically recognizes all faces in the frame without needing to switch to a separate mode, making it more user-friendly and more accurate for multiple face recognition. However, DJI 10P has a protagonist recognition feature, allowing up to 3 faces to be registered as protagonists. During recording, you can also enter the menu to change the priority of the protagonist, and the gimbal will immediately switch the tracking target after changing. Insta360 Luna can only track the person in the center of the frame by default, and changing the tracking subject can only be done manually before shooting, which is not as good as DJI. Moreover, DJI allows you to enter settings during recording to adjust parameters like grid lines and gimbal mode. Insta360 Luna, on the other hand, cannot access settings during recording and can only bind a few functions to shortcut keys in advance. During shooting, you cannot adjust the audio, and there are no grid lines or reference lines for assistance. I hope future firmware updates from Yingxi can address these shortcomings. In the playback section, the thumbnail layout for DJI 10P is in 2 columns, with larger preview sizes for single images. The thumbnails also directly indicate information, such as frame rate and shooting mode. The Insta360 Luna uses a 3-column thumbnail layout, displaying more footage, but its thumbnails do not indicate shooting parameters. Additionally, Insta360 Luna, like a smartphone, supports batch multi-selection, whereas DJI only allows single selection or select all with one click, making it much less efficient for batch operations. In terms of single material details, DJI only displays main information such as duration, mode, and frame rate, while Insta360 Luna fully displays all shooting parameters like filters, sharpness, and saturation. Scrolling down, there is a color grading sharing feature, allowing you to share the stylized color grading settings with other Luna users. Finally, there's the heating situation of the two cameras. When shooting for the same duration with the same settings, I found out the heating of the DJI 10P is noticeably higher than that of the Insta360 Luna. At that time, I borrowed this camera from the DJI store, and after shooting the comparison video indoors and outdoors, their staff asked, which of these two cameras is hotter? I said, why don't you try it yourself and see how it feels?